Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me. I hope you are hearing.
It's a pleasure. I can hear you very well, Dr. Matsanga. So let me begin with Dennis Amachree. Now, Dennis, if you listen to the introduction, you know, General Kaine-Rugaba, Uganda's military chief, stated that Uganda's special forces have entered Juba to secure it and that any move against the president is a declaration of war against Uganda. Can you go ahead and share your thoughts on this and why, you know, he would come out to say such a thing?
Well, you know that, thank you for having me anyway. You know, when you have international relations like this, especially when it comes to the deployment of military force into another country, you know, then it becomes a very serious issue. I'm sure they have been invited, and if they were invited to come into Uganda, just like it happened in 2013, then I think somebody wants to just have some kind of protection. I think the President Kiir, has used them before when they came in, and of course helped him to stabilize his place at that time. But with the tension that is going on, I think this time around is going to be a different story.
How so?
Well, you know that when people deploy like this, foreign military intervention is one that you know, can raise a lot of tension, and of course it can fuel the conflict that has been going on. And then, of course, sovereignty is also very, very important. There will be an erosion of the sovereignty because it also signals weakness on the part of the country that these military forces are coming in. And when they come in, they also do all kinds of things. I remember very well, 2013, I was in Juba. And at that time, we had Ugandan forces inside South Sudan, and they were, in fact, the way they even drive around in town will tell you that they really don't care about the people. So you have a lot of human rights violation going on. So there are many, many complications, you know, that could arise from a foreign military moving into another country.
All right, now let's hear from Dr. Matsanga, you know, still on this and what General Kaine-Rugaba said. Do you have an idea of the specific threats that prompted this deployment of Ugandan forces?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to tell you, are you hearing me properly?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yes. Thank you very much for inviting me. Uganda and South Sudan have got an electoral arrangement of ever defending it. Uganda has got an agreement. Uganda liberated South. Uganda would not like to see the northern nation destabilized. So Salva Kiir invited them. They have gone there by force. They have not bulldozed their way in. They were invited to go because there is tension between Dr. Riek Machar and General Salva Kiir. It has been there. One of the problems that I've been telling the whole world a long time, that IGAD was not able and will not be able to bring peace in that country, because the type of arrangement, the discussions that were done in a peace process left one major contributing factor to peace: accountability. That is where we have gone wrong. The whole process of South Sudan is in chaos because of accountability issues. Accountability has become a problem, and that is where things are going to go wrong. So Uganda is in South Sudan, invited officially through a bilateral arrangement that they have between Sudan Armed Forces, South Sudan Armed Forces, and Uganda UPDF.
Oh, okay. Now, still on you, Dr. Matsanga.
Hello?
If you can hear me, what are the risks of foreign military involvement in South Sudan's internal affairs?
It is not, if it is a bilateral, my sister, it is not interference anymore. This is a bilateral arrangement that if we are attacked or there is insecurity, we are aware that there is plenty of insecurity. The whole of North Sudan is the other side. The tension between Dr. Riek Machar and Salva Kiir has been increasing on a daily basis. And therefore, Uganda can sit and watch. I fully support President Museveni on this one. We cannot sit and watch, have refugees running into our country. So he was invited to come up and take charge, at least to Juba, in case there are any humanitarian responses. We need that capital city and the airport. Therefore, that is why the risks are, one, it could escalate into a civil war inside Sudan itself, which could now plunge in and involve Ugandan troops. Just as like Kebemba crossed over and went to Central African Republic, ended up himself in the ICC. Those are the risks. So how they conduct themselves under this bilateral arrangement is what we wait and see. It is a real terrible situation that has taken place, that is taking place in South Sudan at the moment. It is not a very good situation.
All right. Now, Mr. Amachree, with the 2018 peace deal, having ended a civil conflict that cost nearly 400,000 lives, how vulnerable is this accord now that, key government figures aligned with Vice President Machar have been detained?
Well, the thing is that that area is very, very unstable. Very, very unstable. And of course, the peace accord in 2013 with the intervention of Uganda has been one that has, at least sustained the area. Because right now, if South Sudan is unstable, it is going to affect the whole Horn of Africa, because that area is very, very strategic. But at the same time, we have to understand that the entrance of Uganda into South Sudan might also make the conflict the tension to heighten, and then the conflict will break out. And if it breaks out, there are consequences, and these consequences will include majorly the refugee problem that we're going to have. And I'm very, very sure Uganda is doing this because they don't want the refugees to come into their country, because it's going to stress their resources and stuff like that.
Okay, so it's better for them to just, find a way to bring peace from within than to allow the refugees flood in. Well,
exactly. Come in here.
Exactly.
Yes, you can come in, Dr. Matsanga.
I agree with my colleague here. We have a strain of 4.5 million refugees from Congo who are in our territory. That is why you see the Eastern Congo, there is chaos there already. For us to wait and see another bunch of refugees coming from the north into our territory, we want to do that. We Ugandans have got one policy. We don't wait until there is trouble. We go for it and sort it out. 400,000 people perished. There was no accountability at all. And you can't say you are making a peace process, arranging a peace process. This was a peace process that was bound to collapse because it didn't have any backer. There was nobody backing it. There was no money backing it. There were no resources. There was no containment areas were not supervised. There was no peace process here. And that's it. I am a conflict resolution expert. You can raise me from the grave when I'm going to die and ask me. That was not a peace process at all. And I think my fellow friend will agree with me that that was not a peace process, but a peace jokes.
Okay. Now let's hear from you, Mr. Amachree, now following the attack on a UN helicopter that actually resulted in casualties. How would you advise the UN, beg your pardon, to plan in order to ensure the safety of its personnel and also maintain its peacekeeping operations in such a volatile environment?
Well, that's one problem that we're having in Africa right now. Most of these international bodies that are intervening are not, being very honest with themselves, and you find out that sometimes they are supposed to be peacekeeping, but at the same time, there are other things that they're doing, in the area. If you remember, recently there was a United Nations drone that was captured somewhere in Africa, and then inside of the drone were a load of gold bars and some ammunition, arms and ammunition. So these are the kinds of things. Well, they've shut it down, and of course, the United Nations have to look inward now in actually reviewing their mission in Africa. Because I can tell you, when you even look outside Uganda and South Sudan, what is happening right now in Congo is another problem that we are facing.
Yeah.
Because, and these are implications that we have to really look at.
Okay, let me stay on you, Amachree. Now, aside, the helicopter crash, there was also the evacuation of U.S. State Department non-emergency personnel from Juba, which actually indicates a serious concern. What specific intelligence, or developments might have led to this decision? And how do you think it's going to affect diplomatic relations with Sudan?
Well, definitely, you know that it will affect the diplomatic relations with Juba and Washington, because when the United States start to send out warning notice or warning alerts telling that non-essential citizens or non-essential personnel of the United States Embassy should start leaving the country, that means they are foreseeing some kind of conflict that might arise, So I believe that, especially with the new presidency that we have in the United States now, and what is going on all over the world, I think we have to tighten up. The people in South Sudan, even in Uganda, have to tighten up and then look at these things very, very carefully, because this situation can change rapidly.
All right, now, Dr. Matsanga, how do you think that Uganda's, I want to hear your personal thoughts or your personal view on this. How do you think, is there a possibility that Uganda's intervention, would affect the perceived legitimacy of President Salva Kiir's government, especially among citizens who have long experienced instability?
First of all, thank you very much. This is not the first time that we have intervened. Every time we have intervened, in fact, South on us, our security operations depend are the ones that have guarded. We have, it has no capability to guard itself anyway. We have intervened all the time. We created it. We removed Kony from Eastern Equatorial to Western Equatorial. Remember, I don't know whether to Western Equatorial, and that when South Sudan was formed, we have been there. We hammered peace agreements in Sudan ourselves. We have been there before, and we shall be there. We still have to maintain peace. As my friend has said, we cannot accept this again. The area is already intensified with war. In Somalia, we have a war going on. Ethiopia, there is a war going on. Eastern Congo, there is a war going on in Congo. Now we cannot afford to have another state. Therefore, for us, we have been there. And for us, our troops. And one of the things that I support President Museveni is we don't wait. We don't wait until you come to our door. We go for you. And that is our policy. We are going to stabilize this area. We shall hold Juba. And one of the problems that we must condemn, and I agree with my colleague from New York, these countries, the Western countries, bring us chaos. And then they call upon their citizens to leave. You see, now they are calling their citizens after they have been meddling with the affairs of South Sudan. They refuse to give South Sudan the money. They refuse to support their efforts. The country has been crying for resources to resettle the soldiers. How can the peace agreement work? Now they are saying our people leave first. Africans, time has come to learn more. For us Ugandans, we are going to stabilize.
Okay. Well, we hope that's what happens. So while we wrap up, let's hear your final thoughts, Mr. Amachree, especially on what role non-state actors and militias play in the renewed tension. You know, do you think that their involvement could complicate both the military and also diplomatic resolutions?
Well, one thing that is very, very present in Africa is the role of non-state actors in many countries, including Nigeria. You know, where non-state actors are really, really taking spaces in doing what they want to do. And then, of course, in this particular situation, that's why, you know, the intervention of Uganda is very good, because without Uganda intervening in Juba, you find out that they have all these non-state actors who are playing their games there. And then, of course, some of these non-state actors are being supported by some superpowers, you know, that are pushing them to destabilize the area. So I think Africa generally, and African Union in particular, should, you know, start looking at, you know, specific areas, because just like my colleague said, you know, there are too many conflicts on the continent.
Yeah,
too many conflicts, and we cannot, you know, continue managing them or living with them, because they are destabilizing the continent.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for your thoughts on this particular topic. We've had Dr. David Matsanga, African Affairs Analyst, and also Dennis Amachree, security expert, speak to us on this. Thank you so much.